behind the scenes with future country rock blues kings and queens. Discover them first with Palm Bash TV. Palm Bash TV.
Well, hello there, it's Paul Mash TV time again. Thank you so much for joining us. We got a great interview coming up shortly. But don't forget about that subscribe button and bell down there if you haven't done that already. And anytime a new episode comes your way, you'll be notified. And check out the description. It'll have all of our contact info there. It'll also be included in the closing credits at the end of the show. And leave a comment on the comment section if you'd like. From Harpers, Ferry, West Virginia, we have Simon Elliott and Christina Alexander. And together they make the group Mission Road, and a very talented group of musicians here. And I know you're really going to love them, and we're going to get to that in a second because it starts right now. Okay, here we are with the interview, and with us from Harpers Ferry, West Virginia, we have Mission Road. We have Christina and Simon. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. We're glad to have you here. Well, how did it begin for you as far as being an artist goes? I mean, and how did you get together as a group? I mean, well, we want to hear that story.
Sure thing. We both come from musical families, but from different parts of the world. I grew up in New York, and I come from a musical family. My mother was a singer many, many years ago, and my dad was a songwriter. So I kind of grew up with music all around me.
And my family, my father is very musical, and his side of the family, my grandfather was a professional pianist and organist. And my father also plays piano, and they were from the Akron, Ohio area. But I was raised in Maryland, so I kind of got the talent from my daddy.
Okay. Well, that's a great story. I'm glad you two got together and decided to make people happy with your music, and that's what it's all about.
And we met in a church, actually.
We met in a church. My wife and I were going to the church, and Christina was going to the church, and then a mutual friend introduced us. I was playing in the church band, playing Christian rock and roll. And the mutual friend said that Christina wanted to find musicians to sing and play with, and my reaction was, oh, sure, right. And it was like a couple of years went by, and I ran into Christina at a local restaurant.
Little hole in the wall.
Yep, up here on the mountain in Harpers Ferry, West Virginia. And took me a while to recognize her. And I think at the time you had funny colored hair.
Neon pink hair.
And so I chased her out into the parking lot, and she thought I was crazy. There's our cat, her cat. That's Lily. And so it took another couple of months, but I got her phone number and I got it wrong. And then, well, make a long story short, I had her come over to my rehearsal studio, and she started singing, and I started playing keyboard, and it clicked really well. So we've been working together ever since, and that's about 3 years now.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a great story too. Hopefully you'll be around many years there.
Hopefully so.
Now, what were some of the influences you had growing up? I mean, I'm sure some of the legends in music come to mind, but tell us in your own words.
Well, my influences, I was growing up, I was listening to Bob Dylan and Peter, Paul, and Mary, and a lot of the folk artists, the Joni Mitchells and those people, Gordon Lightfoot. I mean, there's just dozens and dozens of them. And I also was in the rock and roll, like Crosby, Stills, and Nash, and Neil Young, and all that, and the Beatles, and the Rolling Stones, and so I didn't really start turning to country until later, because I was performing as a folk artist and playing the clubs in Greenwich Village. And actually, country music was kind of a natural step for me after going through that folk phase, because the original country charts that Billboard had were originally called the folk charts. So they're really, aligned in terms of the musicality. So
I grew
turn it over
up,
to you.
I grew up listening to Patsy Cline and a lot of the 50s and 60s rock and roll.
Mm.
And then when I got into my teenage years, of course, I was listening to Mariah Carey and Whitney Houston, and then too became an influence for me. I used to listen to their songs and albums over and over and pretend in my bedroom with my hairbrush that I was one of them. And as I got a little bit more into my teenage years, I discovered that I, in fact, loved the music my father was listening to, and that was country music. And that was anything from the early 50s countries all the way until, well, then it was the 80s country. So I just always followed my heart in the country music, and that's where I've stayed.
We do a mix of classic country and more modern country, and we throw in the originals that I've written. So we can do Shania Twain, we can do Hank Williams Sr. I mean, it's a nice mix, and
Something for everyone.
yeah, but mostly now we're focusing on the originals because we just put out an album, and we're really happy about it, and we're really excited about it. And we're starting to get some traction. We're getting airplay on 500 radio stations, mostly internet radio stations, which I like because it's really the mainstream media right now isn't really all that receptive to new music. I don't think, unless it's coming from certain sources. And independent music is really where it's at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I agree with that, and as far as the legends goes, you mentioned bands like Peter, Paul and Mary and Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, they're definitely legends, as I mentioned. And even some of the ones you mentioned, Christina. So those are really great bands. Well, tell me something, after we watch this video, people might want to go get more of your music. How could they do that? I'm sure it's on all streaming platforms. But do you have any social media or official websites they can check out as well? Give us a lowdown on that.
Well, we've got a website that's kind of a placeholder right now, and we have Kate and Gordon working on getting that into shape for us. But our Facebook, we're releasing 3 singles so far from the album. The first one is called All I Want to Say. The second one's called Going Through the Motions. And the third one, I Used to Drink Whiskey, is kind of how that's interesting because we put it on Facebook, and Christina's kind of a marketing whiz, and we got over
Hardly.
we got over 10,000 views of that song on Facebook. And that kind of floored me, and it attracted the attention of a guy who's out there who's in Western swing music. I don't know if you know him. His name is Eric Diamond, and he got in touch with us. That's indirectly kind of how we got in touch with you, is because Eric Diamond heard that song, and
Well, Eric Diamond led us to Caden, and then Caden led us to you.
Yeah, and so I was really honored and thrilled that he reached out to me because he wanted to know who wrote the song. So that started a really nice chain reaction. One of those nice virtuous circles.
But if people want to listen to our songs, we're out there. Our album is out on YouTube. They can go to our Reverb Nation page on Facebook, Instagram. It's everywhere. We have even hard copies of our CD. I can show you the cover of it if you'd like.
Yeah. Well, that sounds good. Just go to those places you mentioned and check out all their music. I know you would. They would love you for that. And a moment ago, you mentioned All I Want to Say, which is the video we're about to play. Is there a story behind this song? Maybe you'd like to tell us about that.
Well, it's your classic. You can't, you're overthinking something that's really an affair from the heart. And your heart wants to express something, and your mind keeps getting in the way. So and in fact, yesterday was Valentine's Day. We had a lot of people saying, "Gee, that's a good Valentine's song."
That's all I want to say is that I love you.
Right. You know, you try to come up, you try to be Shakespeare, right? And you try to express things in all this flowery poetic language, and really just get to the point.
Just say it, just do it.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and self-explanatory, it sounds like. But I really love this song, and I know everybody out there is going to love it, and we'll get to that in just a second. But
Thank you.
Elliot and Christina, we thank you so much for coming on the show. If you guys ever want to come back on the show, let me know, and maybe we'll have you back on. You can update us on some stuff, and we'll see what happens.
Awesome.
Well, that'd be great. Really enjoyed talking with you.
Oh, well, I appreciate that, Elliot. So let's go right to the song now, All I Want to Say, and it begins right now.
that I must say to free the feeling trapped inside my mind. All I wanna say is that I love you. All I wanna say is that I care. And whenever I am thinking of you, it almost feels as if you're really there. I know you're not the kind to wait too long, but I'm not the kind to say those words too